Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
How's everybody doing this late Saturday night? I'm in one of those moods where my brain is just kind of rambling a little bit. I wouldn't say rambling, percolating with some thoughts that I've had recently. And I get in these moods sometimes where things like it's percolating and I'm really trying to get it, pin it down or break it down to the least complex way to look at it possible so that I can better understand it and so that I can better try to pass it on to you guys and to my clients and the people I do consults for and everything like that. And basically, I was thinking about not too long ago when someone had asked me if life is easier now that I'm not competing on the highest stage. And actually, I thought, no, it's just the opposite. When I was competing heavy, it was really easy for me to put everything to the side. Like, I need to focus on my lifting. I can't stress about this stuff. And now that I'm more trying to expand this business and this podcast, and I think more about what do I need to do to help these things grow? How can I reach more people? And I'm spending more time thinking about all this stuff that I didn't do before. And this brings me back to kind of the point of the fact that we're in the gym really is a small amount of time. Say, for instance, you train an hour and a half, 6 days a week, and maybe you do cardio, some sort of cardio or other exercise, another half hour. That's roughly 12 hours a week. Well, there's 168 hours in a week. Like, you're not even in the gym as much as you're probably working at your job. So the amount of time that we're actually training, and if you break that down, stimulating growth, is pretty small compared to the rest of the hours. Now, all of those hours are very, very important. And what happens to our body and what our body is going through is very, very important because the recovery process is slow. The growth process is even slower. And what we're after, whether that be fat loss, building muscle, getting stronger, all of these things take quite a bit of time. They're actually a pretty slow process. So the more attention we pay to what's going on outside the gym, the faster we can get those results, the faster or more often we can train with better results. And I find it interesting that we focus so much on this small portion and don't give enough attention to all this time outside the gym. And this brings me back to my thought of getting asked that question. And one of the things I did really well to be successful in powerlifting was paying attention to what was going on when I was away from the gym. The caveat being, I think it was kind of natural for me. I mean, I think I picked up some things here and there, and I kind of knew what was going on. But now I'm thinking much deeper about it and focusing much more on it because I'm understanding just how big of an impact it actually has. And I have to say, I think the moving pumping iron actually had some role in this for me. I remember the scene where Arnold was talking about if his car got stolen, he's like, I can't worry about that. Like, I'll call my insurance company and do what I have to do, but I can't stress over it. I can't let that get to me. And I think he said something about if his dad passing away and he's like, well, I can't go back and do the funeral right now. I have to focus on this training. And I watched that when I was a kid, and somehow part of it sunk in. And then when I was older and competing in powerlifting and at the highest levels, when I wasn't in the gym, I was cognitive of things I needed to do to help my body heal the best that it can. And another part of that was the fact that I knew I couldn't do much. I was unable to figure out much with my sleep. I mean, I was seeing doctors, I was getting studies, I was trying medications. I mean, I was trying everything, but nothing really was helping. So I knew that I had to be even more aware of my recovery. Now, fast forward to today. And I've been researching this and looking into this, listening to some people that I really respect in this area. And basically, we have our autonomic nervous system, which is our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous systems. Parasympathetic is chilled out, relaxed, calm. And what's happening in that phase is our body's, it's healing, it's digesting, it's putting all the energy where it needs to be put. And I had just read, let me see if I can find this here real quick, because it was actually pretty interesting. They use two different little rhymes: rest and digest, and feed and breed. And when you're in this phase, that actually makes sense. Like, you're resting, your body's going to digest the food better. It's going to put the nutrients where it needs to go. Feed and breed, same thing. Your body's going to start producing all of those hormones and chemicals to get you ready to breed. It's taking in the food, it's repairing, it's healing. The body has the energy to do the things that it needs to do. Now, the sympathetic system is our fight and flight, fight or flight, where, and this goes back to the ancient caveman days where we would get in danger and our body would take energy from other areas. It's not worried about digesting food at that time. It's worried about giving you the energy and adrenaline to get the hell where you need to go or to fight back. And the funny thing is that our body doesn't necessarily always need to do the physical action to think that it did the physical action. And we've done this in studies of visualization. They've proven that you imagining in your mind or your mind's eye doing the action will actually improve you when you go do it in person. And the same thing with like the placebo effect. If you think you're getting the drugs and you're convinced you're getting the drugs, even if you don't, your body finds a way to make the same result. So in today's age, we don't really have the same fight or flight that we had when we were caveman or frontiersmen, and we had that physical stress. Now we have more emotional and mental stress, but the effect on the body is exactly the same. So if you're going to work and you're in traffic and you're stressed out because you're going to be late, and then your boss calls and wants to know where you're at, tells you got to get here, and when you get here, you got to get this done, and then you're like, shit, I got to pick up my kid after school, or I got to meet so-and-so, or shit, I got these bills to pay. All of that is triggering that same effect of the fight or flight. It's going, hey, something's wrong. We need to cut back energy to all these other functions in our body, and we need to focus on getting out of this stress. We need to focus on protecting the system. And that does all kinds of horrible, bad, negative things in our body. It releases a bunch of bad chemicals. Mentally, it messes up our, how would I say, our flow between basically our heart and our mind, between our feelings and our mind, our body and our mind. And our brain is basically, instead of being relaxed and calm and thinking, your brain is looking for the danger. We know there's danger. Our body's telling us there's danger. Where's the danger? What do we need to do? But you don't have that. You don't have that danger. It's not like, oh, there's a dinosaur. I got to run my ass over this way. Oh, hey, there's a tiger. I need to get my spear ready to kill it. You don't have that focus. So you have this stress going through your body telling you there's a danger, telling you need to prepare for this, but you don't really know what it is. And so this is like your system's all blocked up and it has all this energy and your heart's pumping like crazy, but you're not actually doing anything physical. You're stuck in your car in traffic, but you feel the same thing. And I believe even if you could get out and go do sprints for 10 minutes, you would probably come back and be like, whew, all right, I'm cool, I'm good. But we don't have that. We go to work and we get stressed out at work, and you come home and say your kids are going crazy and you're trying to cook dinner and you're trying to get your kids ready for bed and whatever. You don't have that physical outlet of that danger. So your body's in fight or flight and it doesn't even really know what the hell's going on. So this is going to clog up your mind. Your thoughts are going to be all over the place. Your body is just, it's taking all these necessary functions and cutting energy, and it's putting energy someplace that you can't even utilize it. So your heart's pumping, your blood pressure's up. It's just, your body's just a complete mess at that point. So if you did training the day before, if you did some heavy lifting, now when you should be recovering and growing, your body can't do that. It's trying to deal with this fight or flight. It's trying to deal with this danger that it can't even really see. So then you're going to go into the gym tonight and you're going to train, and you're probably going to feel good because you're at least getting some of that stress out, but you've already spent the whole day where you haven't really recovered and let your body do what it needs to do. And now you're going to go train and you're working out all this stress to go tomorrow and be stressed and go. You're going to go through this same process over and over and over, and you're getting a little more behind and a little more behind and a little more behind, and you're never catching up. And then you're like, why am I not getting stronger? Why am I not losing weight? Why am I not doing this? Why am I not that? Well, it really kind of all makes sense. Now, even as a regular person, like, and by regular, I mean somebody who like trains kind of for health or whatever, but they're not really trying to achieve these huge goals in the gym. But if they're still going through this, their body's not going to be anywhere near as healthy as it could be. Like all these processes that are getting behind further and further and further every day. This is why people are overweight. This is why people are sick. This is why people are so messed up. Like there's a lot of the medical community out there that will tell you stress is one of the biggest killers and causes of diseases out there right now. And I truly believe that. So I feel like we're always like, hey, what training program do you have? What reps and sets? What RPR? How many reps in reserve? Which are RIR, RE, like what's your rate of perceived exertion? Like what percentages? What wave are you? What block are you in? Like we want to go into all this stuff in training like it's so important. And it is important. But then we're not spending any time talking about how can I recover better? How can I make my body healthier when I'm not in the gym and help it prepare better for when I do go back into the gym to get the best training I can get or perform the best training that I can do, and not performing training just under fight or flight sympathetic nervous system, but get my body into parasympathetic nervous system so it rests to be able to kick it up in the gym to get the good training to go back into the parasympathetic. We're completely ignoring this whole mental aspect of how our bodies function. And I think even like the nutrition part, I think we could spend more time on the nutrition part. I think we could spend more time on increasing the quality of our sleep. And these things definitely get some talk about, and I think nutrition is getting a lot more talk and knowledge and more information out there, which is actually really great. But what about all this mental side of it? So I look back over my career and I go, oh yeah, I actually did that. I was actually pretty good at that. When that's a lifelong work for me, I should say. Generally, I grew up a pretty angry kid, and anger runs in my family, and getting pissed off runs in my family. So I always, even when I was powerlifting, I mean, things would get me pissed off and stuff, but then eventually I'd be like, hey, Chad, is this helping your training? Is this going to help you break a world record? No. And in fact, it's hindering you achieving that world record. So you need to calm the hell down. You need to do what you can do and let go of what you can't. So I did that a lot during those powerlifting years. And then kind of when I was working more on my mental health and I wasn't going to compete much anymore, it kind of slipped away a little bit for a while. And then as I was doing more research and working with more clients and stuff, I started looking back into it more, just in terms of general health. I'm fascinated with quantum physics. And really, a lot of this stuff kind of goes back to how the body functions on the quantum level. So they're all kind of tied together in my mind. So coming back from one is not that difficult for me to think about. And I like thinking about it. I like trying to understand it. And what do I really have control over in my body? So that's something I'm always working on now, and will be working on probably the rest of my life, because I think it takes a lifetime to completely master it. But training it and focusing on it, just like strength, giving it as much thought as I do training, giving it as much thought as I do technique, giving it as much thought as I do nutrition, I think is hugely important. And I say this because of all the research and stuff that I've done. The human body is absolutely amazing. What it can actually do is incredible. I mean, just look at the placebo effects. And if you really research like quantum healing and stuff, there's people that have healed themselves of some pretty amazing stuff. There's people that have healed themselves with modern medical science, but using their mind as well. And it really is pretty fascinating what you can do. So why wouldn't you want to tap into this as much as you would anything else? I mean, look at all the money we spend on supplements, all the money we spend on steroids, all the money we spend on all these things, but very rarely do I hear people talk about trying to get their body to actually function better and produce more of these things and heal itself. And I'm not even saying I'm not talking with an athlete, I'm not talking about healing cancer, but it's really a similar process, just to get your body to function better, to get your body to heal from training sessions better, to get your body to heal injuries quicker. I'm so amazed we're not talking about this more, and I really hope to be able to get some guests on this podcast eventually that are in that realm and bring them over to my realm and go, hey, listen, I want you to come on and talk about this in terms of athletes and what better or what effect it can have on improving athletes and their health, so that later on in life, and this is the same thing, that even if you're using it in powerlifting and you're using it to be a better powerlifter, it's going to transfer into the rest of your life. It's going to make you a healthier individual. It's going to help you live longer and healthier. So I don't understand why we're not looking at this and trying to expand it in terms of what we can do as athletes. So one of the big things for me when I started after my divorce, that hit me hard, and I was not at all happy about it. I never wanted to be divorced. And the more I looked at the relationship, I thought this was communication was not where it should have been. And I think I could have had a better result if I communicated more. And I started with researching communication pretty deeply after that. One of the aspects that I really struggled with was the fact that nobody can make me feel anything. And I've been told I tend to jump to extreme measures, which I agree with. I mean, if your principle and your theory works, why can't I go to the extreme measure and test it? So my first stumbling block with that thought was, if somebody comes up and punches me in the face, it's his fault I'm pissed off. It's his fault I'm angry. And it took me a while to get to the point where I went, nope, he punched me, but all the emotions were mine. He did not make me angry. I could have reacted a multitude of ways to that. I could have stayed calm as hell and went, that kind of hurt and it pisses me off. So, you know what? I'm going to punch him back. I could have went, well, that didn't even really hurt. So whatever, I don't even care. And the same thing, and I use it now, like if I'm driving and somebody cuts me off and I immediately go to that son of a use, and I go, wait a minute. I don't feel like being pissed off. I don't feel like being mad. Why am I going to give my power to that person and let them do that to me? I'm perfectly good being in my parasympathetic state, knowing that my body's doing what it needs to do, knowing that my body's healing, knowing that the energy is going where it's supposed to go right now. I don't need to be pissed off at somebody. And I don't have the time to follow them home and drag them out of their car anyway. So this is just going to create, it's going to hurt me. He's already passed. He's gone. He don't give two shits anymore. Why would I give that person control? And that's a matter of looking at it in terms of you're giving control up to that person and you're letting that person have an effect on your body. Now, feelings, I think, I used to say feelings had no rhyme or reason. I think feelings kind of pop up. Usually there's some sort of, I think they're like a clue. It's interesting. It's interesting when we have feelings to think about why we have those feelings and where they come from. Is it a positive feeling or a negative feeling? So feelings might actually have a rhyme or reason, but the fact is we still control it. And you can go down the route of the shadow, the ego, call it whatever you want. But in the end, it's us that we have to take charge and go, no, I don't want to feel that way. And the same thing, if I'm hanging out with my great nieces and I'm happy as hell and I'm smiling, I want to keep that feeling. I like that feeling. So I'm not going to let that feeling fade away. I'm going to take it and hold on to it and enjoy it, because it's going to help keep me in that parasympathetic state. It's going to help my body feel gratitude. It's going to help heal my body. It's going to make my heart and my brain more coherent. And that's just going to feed on everything else. So we have to start looking at bringing the subconscious to the conscious. So those feelings that pop up, that anger that pops up, when your boss says something and you just automatically get pissed off about it. The feelings that come up there are subconscious, and we have to be conscious of that and go, whoa, 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 okay. I almost got pissed off there, got a little pissed off. That's cool, no big deal. But no, I don't want to feel that. This situation does not need that. It doesn't warrant that. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. I've seen people that could get cut off in the morning, 6 o'clock at night, they're still pissed off. And if you ask them why they're pissed off, they're going to start listing excuses. The son of a bitch cut me off in the morning. Then my goddamn boss did this. Then that asshole at work did this. I'm working harder than everyone else. And it's like, none of those things actually made you feel the way you feel. You're the one that's responsible for how you feel. You're the one that's responsible for being in a parasympathetic state all day long, putting your body into fight or flight, and it not having anywhere to use that energy. So instead of you healing up, you basically been burning your motor up all day long. And we have to take responsibility for that. We have to learn to control our mind just like we learn to control our body in the gym. And that's the same thing. Me working on technique, even if, say I'm squatting and I'm a really quad dominant squatter and I'm trying to go a little wider and I'm coming out of the hole, my knees are slamming in because I'm flexing my adductors really hard. That's like a feeling to me. That's my body using what it has the strongest of, not knowing the movement it wants to do, and it's just trying to do it. And I can just go in the gym and just keep pounding away and go, it's just about getting stronger. It's just about getting stronger. That's no different to me than letting my feelings run wild. I want to go into the gym and go, listen, right now, these muscles are dominant. I'm used to doing it this way, but that's not the best way to do it. The best way for me to do it is to get my technique fixed, get my knees out, use my glutes to hold my femurs out so my knees aren't caving in, so I can recruit my quads and my hip flexors and my glutes and my hamstrings and end up squatting more weight. And this is going to take time. This is going to take time for me to focus on it, to work on it, and continue to build it up over time. So to me, they're the same thing. If I'm willing to go to the gym and put in all that hard work, why wouldn't I also try to do that the rest of the hours of the day that I can? This is no different than going, I need to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Yes, I'd like to go out and hang out with the boys. I'd like to go drinking. I like to do this. But what do I really want? What is my goal? And what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? It's taking control of your mind. And instead of the emotion of, hey, I want this instant gratification. If I go get drunk tonight, I'm going to feel good. Well, you know what? I'm going to feel really good when I go to the competition to kick ass. And that's a feeling and a memory I'm going to have for a long time that's going to be way better than those other feelings and memories. So this whole podcast is basically about delving deeper into the time we have away from the gym, because there's so much more time away from the gym that really impacts what we're doing in the gym. The gym really is just to stimulate growth. We're breaking things down so that the body can rebuild them bigger and stronger. So I want that time out of the gym to be as productive as possible. If I'm all stressed out, if I'm letting my emotions run wild, then that time is not as productive as it could be. This means I'm not going to gain strength as fast as I could. This means I'm not going to have the energy and focus for the sessions in the gym that I need to be really good. I need all my sessions in the gym to be really good. And this whole time, I'm also preparing myself for competitions because I'm learning how to control my emotions. I'm learning how to utilize the positive emotions. And I'm learning how to control my body, my mind, the whole thing. And this is going to play in competition, in the gym. It's going to play in everything in your life. And this is the kind of skill that one day when you're not as competitive or you're not focusing on the same thing, these skills are all going to help you focus on whatever your goals are. So I think it's well worth the time to start doing a little research in this area, as well as the research you already should be doing towards your training. And in fact, I see a lot of different training styles that work. But when I start looking at the mentality and the way people achieve success, I think there's more common traits with that. So part of me almost thinks that this is almost the first place you should go. This is one of the biggest things to work on, is controlling all of this stuff outside. And it's through, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The word meditation is kind of interesting to me because you hear the word meditation and you think one thing. But for me personally, and a lot of the people that I like to listen to, meditation can be done in many different ways. Even going for a walk without headphones, without listening to an audiobook, but just going for a walk, just being out in nature. You can just sit somewhere and do a little meditation just by clearing your mind and being present in that one moment, even to the point of, there's a lot of meditation where they talk about bringing everything down to one point. But I was listening to one the other day where they were talking about, no, we actually teach people to go the opposite, to expand space and realize that there's all kinds of space and that everything is bigger, and that actually in a certain way can get your mind to work more coherently together and not be so chaotic. I'll be doing more research on that one here in the future. But I just wanted to kind of give an overview tonight of why we need to start working on this and why this should be something that you do want to train, and learning to control when your body's going into sympathetic from parasympathetic, and ways to help go back into parasympathetic. For a while, I was playing around with doing belly breathing after my training sessions to try and get my body to relax and calm down and go back into that parasympathetic state as quickly as possible. And even when I trained, I was a really aggressive, almost borderline crazy lifter. And I would put myself into those states, and I would imagine myself in these places, and I would imagine it being life or death, to get as much of that arousal as I could. But what most people don't understand is that I pulled back and visualized. I mean, I was so good at it, you probably can't tell by watching a video of it, but I was pulling back and visualizing and focusing on the one or two cues I really needed to work on at that time. And then I would go from this complete enraged lifter to perfectly calm in a matter of seconds. And then I would turn it back on. Like for squats, it was putting the knee wraps on. I would flip a switch, and it literally became a switch. And to this day, it's a switch. I can flip it whenever I want, on or off. And that took a lot of control. That took a lot of time. And now I'm trying to work on having that switch all the time. So like when someone does cut me off, I'm pretty good now about going, where are you at, Chad? Where do you want to be? And making sure that I remember what's really important and that I'm the one in control and I'm not handing control over to anyone else. So I hope this gives you guys something to think about. I hope it kind of makes sense to you. If it doesn't, just let it simmer. Just stew on it for a while and maybe start looking some stuff up in terms of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic and going into, controlling of your mind, controlling your emotions, even some manifestation stuff. The Stoic teachings work with this. I'm noticing that there's some clashes. There's stuff that transcends like a manifestation and Stoic and some of the other things, and then there's little clashes. And personally, I think they all have something, and I'm trying to come up with something that kind of transcends them all and what really to me is the most important stuff to focus on. And until next time, I will see you guys later.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.